Have you ever heard the tale of the snake solution that went terribly, terribly wrong? The story goes that in the days when India was a British colony, there was a cobra infestation in the city of Delhi. These venomous, hooded nightmares were rearing up everywhere, terrifying the population. So the British governor came up with what he thought was a perfectly straightforward solution. Instead of sending government-appointed snake exterminators out into the city, he'd outsourced the job to Delhi's denizens. He offered a bounty on cobra skins and made sure to set it high. The British Empire's pockets were deep, and the governor wanted the problem resolved as efficiently as possible. At first, the bounty worked well. Local people set out to slaughter the snakes en masse and claim their reward. But then, things took a turn. Suddenly, a trickle of Delhi citizens realized they could turn a profit on this whole snake bounty thing. Because the governor had set the bounty so high, the reward for each snake skin was much higher than the cost of breeding and raising a cobra. So they started setting up cobra farms. Soon enough, thousands of snakes were being reared, killed, and traded in for bounties. The British Empire ended up making cobra propagation rather than cobra elimination richly profitable. When the governor caught on to this, he called off the bounty, disappointing a large number of enterprising snake farmers. They released their unprofitable cobras into the city, making the infestation many times worse than it had been before. That's why, to this day, strategists talk about the cobra effect, a phenomenon that occurs when the solution to a problem makes it much worse. This specific type of unintended consequence is only one way in which our best-laid plans can turn against us. Creating a strategy, a plan of action, or a solution is a very powerful thing. But having the commitment to continually refine that plan is more powerful by far. And that road to refinement never ends. It takes courage and good common sense to recognize when the bounty you set is inspiring your snake exterminators to become cobra farmers. It takes wisdom and commitment to your core values to make the necessary adjustments. And you just better hope that after you make those necessary adjustments, your citizens don't start releasing their venomous charges into the city streets. One last time, let's revisit our fantasy of the 5 lighters. In this fantasy, you had the chance to change your relationship to fire, the raw power that resides in specific areas of your life. A destructive blaze that once engulfed your entire world was magically subdued, and you were able to rest from your exhausting labor of constant firefighting. The 5 lighters arrayed themselves before you, floating in midair. You picked up each one and intentionally lit 5 specific fires. You used the first lighter to start a controlled burn of the clutter and tangled vegetation that had accumulated around your property. You began to harness your spiritual fire. You used the second lighter to start a fire in a large brick oven in your courtyard. You began to harness your external fire. You used the third lighter to start a fire in the fireplace that warms your home. You began to harness your relational fire. You used the fourth lighter to light a lantern that illuminates your home. You began to harness your internal fire. Then you used the fifth lighter to light the torches that surround your property and keep predatory animals away. You began to harness your financial fire. Ultimately, you transformed yourself from a firefighter to a fire tender. What a miracle! Fire was once a force that exhausted and overwhelmed you. It is now supplying spiritual clarity, social cooking fuel, interpersonal heat, personal illumination, and financial and professional security. You are standing in the middle of a terrifically productive, peaceful, and beautiful property, and it's all yours. You have the power of fire on your side, but with power comes responsibility. How seriously will you now take your job as a fire tender? The fact is that you'll never be completely inoculated from the threat of fires raging out of control. An errant spark can easily escape its confine of the oven, hearth place, or torch, setting off blazes where they aren't wanted. Your long career as a firefighter can always be reactivated if the situation calls for it. Even the way in which you carefully, conscientiously tend your 5 fires can get you into trouble sometimes. Best laid plans, right? But you're working within an entire system of fires. It's tricky to keep everything on track. Certain fires can burn out or burn out of control. Certain fires can begin consuming too much fuel, leaving inadequate supplies for the other blazes. For example, what if you created a lofty social contribution plan, but your professional development plan doesn't end up providing enough financing? Or your goals to spend more time with family and friends are derailed by your personal development plan goals, which entail lengthy training sessions for running a marathon? Or what if after you've deployed your 5 strategies, you find that many of them don't actually help you to express your core values at all? What if they end up taking you further from becoming the person you want and need to become? Snake exterminators can easily become snake farmers if the price of the bounty isn't quite right. Unintended consequences do occur. Plans are only ever perfect on paper. Taking your fire's journey to the point of having completed all 5 components of your personal strategic plan is actually just a warm-up. The real adventure, walking the road of refinement, is ahead of you. That's what this final chapter in video series is all about. Taking a good long look at the big picture of your strategies and gathering up the motivation, inspiration, and commitment to continually refine them.